Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health, and really without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
You're listening to the sweet sounds of Nerdery and Murdery.
You're an idiot. Welcome to episode 85 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Big 85. I'm Zig with your Nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and the lows and the nerd and the murd. Hope everybody enjoys this episode. I think half of this episode was supposedly just for me, so we'll see how this goes.
Yes, it was.
So, Zig, if you want to take it away.
Excellent. Today, for episode 85, we're doing 10 songs for Geoffrey to chill out to.
And for once, I've done my homework, so I listened to all of them, and I have my notes ready to go.
Excellent, excellent. So, just to kind of cast everybody back, so we did an indie list not too long ago that Geoffrey just loved one of the songs on, and it was Still Corners, and he now loves the band Still Corners. So. Mm-hmm. The thought was the next time we do an indie list, I'm going to find 10 songs that are kind of like Still Corners. So when we were doing the fan curated list, I had some of those folks kind of looking at this and see if I was on the right track, and they all kind of agreed with me. So we're going to try this and see how it hit with old Jeff.
See how you went.
Yeah. Okay. So the first song in the list is Wandering Star by Portishead. Portishead, they're an English rock band formed in 1991 in Bristol. Portishead are named after Portishead, Somerset, which is a Welsh word, which means port harbor, which is weird, but that's what Portishead means. And the band comprises vocalist Beth Gibbons, producer Jeff Barrow, and musician Adrian Utley. Dave McDonald, an engineer on their first record, is sometimes cited as a fourth member. Portishead's debut album, Dummy, fused hip-hop production with an atmospheric cinematic style reminiscent of spy film soundtracks. So it kind of has a sort of Shirley Bassey sound to it. The album was met with commercial and critical acclaim, quickly becoming a landmark album in the emerging trip-hop genre. However, the band kind of dislikes being associated with that. This was not a single for them. This was an album track that became a single because it got played on college radio just because it was nice and chill. That would be the track Wandering Star. So what did you think about Wandering Star?
So it's funny that you say mixed with hip hop and whatnot, because I love this song except for the occasional record scratch. I think it would have been much better without that in there. That you know what I'm talking about? The wicka 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 wicka. Yeah. Because in the song it would get tricked up, and then I didn't feel it fit the rest of the song. It turned me off in the song the more that it happened. When it started, I was really enjoying this song,
Nice.
but that occasional record scratch in there was just ruining it for me.
I am so sorry.
No, that's all right. I mean,
overall, you kind of enjoyed the song.
Overall, I did enjoy this song. Yes.
Yes. The next song is Allison by the shoegazing band Slow Dive. This is a shoegazing song. This is part of the shoegazing genre. Slow Dive is an English rock band that formed in Reading, Berkshire in 1989. The band consists of Rachel Goswell on vocals and guitar, Neil Halstead on vocals and guitar, Christian Seville on guitar, and Nick Chaplin on bass, and Simon Scott on drums, all of whom had played on the band's debut album Just for a Day. Halstead is the band's primary songwriter. Goswell and Halstead had known each other since early childhood. The band is one of the most prominent bands within the shoegazing genre, which rose to prominence in England during the early 1990s. The band's second album, Souvlaki, initially received mixed reviews upon release. It has since been recognized as one of the best releases of the 1990s and one of the greatest shoegazing albums of all time. The band broke up soon after the release of their third album, Pygmalion, in 95, having seen Scott, Saville, and Chaplin all depart the band prior. The remaining members continued under a more folk and country influenced direction as Mojave 3. Slow Dive reunited in 2014 to play the Primavera Sound Festival and released a self-titled album in 2017, their first in 22 years. So Souvlaki is actually their second studio album, and it was recorded in 1992 and released June 1st, 1993. And it had the single Allison. It did peak at number 51 in the UK album charts, but was greeted with tepid reviews. Again, it took a while for this one to kind of catch on with the shoegazing
genre.
Fandom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, genre fandom, as it were. But yeah, as far as just an easy, slow shoegazing song, this is actually one of my favorites. What did you think about Allison by Slow Dive?
Yeah, I thought this was a very cool song. There was a really good progression throughout it. This was a nice and a chill song. I really enjoyed this one. This is a good one.
This is a good one. Did it make it into your playlist?
Yeah, this one could make it into my playlist.
Nice. The next one was a bit of a wild card. This is one that I have loved for years and years and years. It is Wave of Mutilation, the UK surf mix by the Pixies. The Pixies are an American alternative rock band formed in 1986 in Boston, Massachusetts. And until 2013, the band consisted of Black Francis, or Charles Michael Kittredge Thompson IV, also known as Frank Black, who is the primary songwriter, Joey Santiago, Kim Deal on bass, and David Levering on drums. Joey Santiago is the lead guitar player. They disbanded acrimoniously in 1993, but reunited in 2004. After Dio left in 2013, Pixies hired Kim Shattuck as a touring bassist, but she was replaced that year by Paz Lankington, who became a permanent member in 2016. Pixies is associated with the 1990s alternative rock boom and draws one element, including or from elements of punk rock and surf rock. The music is known for its dynamic, loud, quiet, loud sound shifts. So they'll go really loud on the verse and then real quiet on the chorus, and then kind of loud on the verse again. They were kind of known for that. Their jarring pop sound influenced acts such as Nirvana, Radiohead, The Smashing Pumpkins, and Weezer. So if you like any of those bands, you should probably check out the Pixies. I think you're going to like them. But since they reunited, they released 4 albums. Indie Cindy, Head Carrier, Beneath the Eyrie, and Doggerel. But this is from their album Doolittle. It's the second studio album by the American alternative rock band Pixies, and it was released in April of 1989 on 4AD Records. Elektra Records is who distributed it in the United States, and Polygram is who distributed it in Canada. Now, this version of this song is not on the album. It was released as a B-side. But it played real big in England, and eventually it got put on a soundtrack album, and that's how most people heard this song. The soundtrack album was Pump Up the Volume.
Oh, really?
Yes. This album is often credited as having offbeat and dark subject matter, which features references to surrealism, biblical violence, torture, and death. So it is kind of a dark album, but it really rocks out. But this version is, I want to say it's like they had this rock song. If you go to Doolittle and listen to it on the album, it's a rock song. But basically they slowed it down and they wanted it to sound like kind of like Blue Velvet. So it has a sort of late 1950s, early 1960s sound to it. The UK surf version of Wave of Mutilation. This was one of my favorite songs growing up. The dripping sound on the guitar, I guess if that's a word. What did you think about Wave of Mutilation, UK surf version by the Pixies?
Well, and I'm surprised I didn't know this from Pump Up the Volume. I really love that soundtrack. I love that movie. I'm not a big Pixies fan, but this one is okay. I kind of felt that the drums overpowered in the song.
The drums are kind of strong on this one.
Yeah, it overpowered. The singing is okay in it, but the more the song on, the more that the song went on, the less I liked it, because those drums were really throwing me off quite a bit.
Okay, that's fair. But this is a Pixie song you didn't realize that you might have enjoyed?
No, I didn't really enjoy it that much. I'm surprised I didn't know it.
Oh, okay. All right, I see. So the scene where the kid has just killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he's Happy Harry Hard-On is walking home and he's reading the letter. That song is playing over that, where he's just kind of walking through the neighborhood reading the letter.
Gotcha.
That's where that song plays. The next song on our list is Sometimes Always by the Jesus and Mary Chain with Hope Sandoval from Mazzy Star. That's who the female singer is. The Jesus and Mary Chain, who we've spoken about before, are a Scottish alternative rock band formed in East Kilbride in 1983. The band revolves around the songwriting partnerships of brothers Jim and William Reed. They've been around for quite a while. Their debut album was Psycho Candy. But this is a little bit later in their period, because we have talked about Jesus and Mary Chain before. This is a little later on. This is 3 albums later than what we talked about before. The name of the album is Stoned and Dethroned. It is the 5th studio album by the Scottish alternative rock band, the Jesus and Mary Chain. They spent most of 1992 touring, including a slot on that year's Lollapalooza tour. The band went into the studio during January of 93 with the notion of recording an acoustic album for the first time since Psycho Candy. Jesus and Mary Chain recorded with a full band with Steve Monty from Curve playing drums and touring bassist Ben Lurie. The recording took longer and lasted the better part of a year. The album also features lead vocals from guests, including Shane McGowan of the Pogues on God Help Me, and Maisie Starr's Hope Sandoval singing a duet with Jim Reed on Sometimes Always. This one actually was kind of big. It was written by William Reed, and the song was a moderate commercial hit in the UK while also making some noise on the alternative circuit in the US. It has since seen critical acclaim as one of the best songs from the Stoned and Dethroned album. I like it because it has sort of a I'm gonna say almost like a cowboy song feel. You know what I mean? It's super chill, and Hope Sandoval's lyrics are great in this. What did you think about?
I was not overly impressed with this song. It was okay, but it wouldn't hit my playlist. I mean, it was just an okay song to me.
Okay, but not bad.
No, it wasn't bad. I don't know if any of these in here were actually bad, but some of them were just not for me, and this is one of those.
So we have still not hit Still Corners level yet.
No.
Okay. All right. The next song on our list is Ballerina Out of Control by the Ocean Blue. The Ocean Blue is an American indie pop band formed in Hershey, Pennsylvania in 1986. When these guys were forming this band, they were all still in high school. Matter of fact, I want to say that when they released the album that Ballerina Out of Control is on, they were only like 19, maybe 20. But they signed a 3-album deal in 1988 with Sire Records at the behest of Sire founder Seymour Stein. Their self-titled debut album was recorded in London and produced by John Porter and Mark Opitz. The band's busy calendar included U.S. touring and appearances on one of the first episodes of Club MTV with Downtown Julie Brown. The first single, Between Something and Nothing, peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Alternative Song charts, and while the follow-up, Drifting Falling, peaked at number 10. The videos were made for the song and both received rotation on Postmodern MTV. The band joined the Mighty Lemon Drops and John Wesley Harding on an extensive tour in 1990. That is the tour that my friend illegally recorded some stuff on. But I don't think the Ocean Blue was at the show here, or at least they didn't record any of the Ocean Blue. This is actually from their second album, Cerulean, that was released in 1991. It charted on the Billboard Alternative Song charts at number 3. So this was actually kind of a big indie hit in 1991. I love the Ocean Blue, but all of their stuff kind of sounds like this. The droning guitars, kind of quiet vocals, if that's a word, you know,
Mm-hmm.
soft, very softly spoken. And I really, really dig this song. And it's one of those bands that I don't think about a lot, but I remember when I do think about it, I remember, oh yeah, they had 4 or 5 songs that I just loved, including this one. And again, these guys were so young when they did this. They're still together, by the way, the Ocean Blue. They've been touring and working and making albums since 1988. And, they still sound as good now as they did back then. But yeah, this is one of those ones that it was on heavy rotation when I was a young man, and occasionally pops back up for heavy rotation for me. What did you think about Ballerina Out of Control by the Ocean Blue? I
liked this song a lot. It had a nice, even rhythm and steady progression throughout the song itself. This was another good chill song and one that would hit my playlist. I like this one.
Nice. I may send you some more Ocean Blue stuff because a lot of their stuff sounds like this.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it's a little more rockier, but for the most part, this is their wheelhouse. The next song in the album is A Different Age by Current Joys. Now, Current Joys is actually just one guy, Nicholas Foster Radigan. He's an American singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, vocalist, journalist, and music video director. He's from Reno. And he currently releases music under the moniker Current Joys alongside band members Ciaran Fitzpatrick, Sinead Kelly, Stephen Cafferkey, and Teresa Brown. He also is the drummer and lead singer for the indie surf rock band Surf Curse. Radigan actually started out releasing music as the Nicholas Project from 2011 to 2012. And then he started releasing music as Tele/Visions, all capital letters, where he released his debut album Wild Heart on January 2nd, 2013, as well as all of his music on Bandcamp. After 2015, Radigan began performing as Current Joys with his second studio album, Me, Oh My Mirror, which was released February 16th, 2015, which is what Current Different Age is off of. No, I'm sorry. He released the third album, Different Age, in March 2nd, 2018. And that's what this is off of. So this is only a few years old, as opposed to a lot of these other ones. I really, really like this song as sort of a chill out sort of thing. And if you go into Spotify and look for Still Corners, they will give you this band as an alternate. So I thought, well, we definitely need to put this song in there because it's just really nice and chill. And what did you think about A Different Age?
So the song did start off really slow, which is okay for a chill song, but I'm not a fan of this singer. The singer threw me off on this song.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like that style of singing. And it really
you didn't like the vocals?
No, it really threw me off on this song. So I could have liked this song if it wasn't for the vocals.
Okay. All right. But you did like the music and everything.
Yeah, the music on it was really good. Like I said, it started off really slow and was a good chill song, but I just couldn't get past the singer on this one.
The vocals threw you. Okay.
Yep.
The next song on our list is This Is How It Feels by In Spiral Carpets. In Spiral Carpets was the band that Noel Gallagher was the guitar tech for before he joined his brother in Oasis. I'm sorry, Liam Gallagher. You know what? I can never get those two. The older brother, the one that writes all the songs. He was the guitar tech for Spiral Carpets. They're an English rock band, part of the late 80s, early 90s Manchester movement. They were formed in Oldham in 1980, and the band's most successful lineup featured frontman Tom Hingley, drummer Craig Gill, guitarist Graham Lambert, bassist Martin Walsh, and keyboardist Clint Boone. They went through a whole bunch of lineup changes between 1980 and 1983 before the band signed with Mute Records, which is basically who Depeche Mode releases through in England. In Spiral Carpets was known for using organs and distorted guitars with influences from psychedelic rock. Tom Hingley departed the band in 2011, and they've been inactive since Gill passed in 2016. So this is actually off of their first album, Life. It was released on the 23rd of April, 1990 by Cow Records through Mute, during the period dubbed the Manchester Movement. British media lumped these guys into the Manchester Movement. The group released 3 singles from this album, Move, This Is How It Feels, and She Comes in the Fall. And both of those were actually released in 2 different versions. I kind of like this version of This Is How It Feels. It entered the top UK 40 when it was released, and it peaked at number 14. This is not an indie chart. This is a top 40 hit. It reached 149 on the Australian ARIA singles charts, and it got up pretty high on our indie charts as well. This was kind of a big indie hit over here, but it played on regular radio in England. This is my favorite in Spiral Carpet song. This may be my favorite Manchester song, because I like the organ in it. Because it sounds, I don't know, almost like it almost has like an old horror quality, like an
Mm-hmm.
old horror movie. You know,
Right.
it's got kind of that same progression, almost like a Bach piece. Um, but toned down. And this song did get some negative reviews because a lot of people thought it was about suicide. I, not necessarily. It's about depression. It's about feeling hopeless, uh, needing an escape. Um, and that was the refrain that kept going. This is how it feels to be lonely. This is how it feels to be small. This is how it feels when the world means nothing at all. It's kind of a dark tune, but oh my God, the song is so beautiful. The video is them basically playing in the wintertime out on the moors, and you can tell they're freezing. The singer's lips almost look blue when he's singing on the video. And I have included this video in our playlist. What did you think about This Is How It Feels by the Inspiral Carpets?
I loved how this one starts. This is another one that had a great progression as the song went on. The more the song went on, the more I liked it. I thought this was a really, really good song, and I could put this one in my playlist for sure.
Okay. Have we hit the level yet of
Nope.
Still
Nope.
Corners?
Nope.
Darn it. Okay. The next song in our list is Teardrop by Massive Attack. I would like to start with the opening of this song. It was the opening for the television series House. That's why it sounds familiar. Yeah. They just played a little bit of it though. Massive Attack are an English trip hop collective formed in 1988 in Bristol by Robert 3D Del Naja, Adrian Tricky Thaws, Andrew Mushroom Vowels, and Grant Daddy G Marshall. It was long suspected that one of these guys is Banksy. They've said several times, no, we just know who he is. He runs around with us. We know who he is. We're not going to tell you. But it is thought that one of these guys was actually Banksy. Sometimes because Banksy would always pop up when they were touring in an area, and that's when Banksy's artwork would pop up. But the Massive Attack, their debut album was Blue Lines. It was released in 1991 with the single Unfinished Symphony, reaching the charts and later being voted the 63rd greatest song of all time in a poll by NME. But in 1998, they released Mezzanine, which contained the top 10 single Teardrops. The group has won numerous music awards throughout their career, including Brit Awards, winning Best British Dance Act, 2 MTV Europe Music Awards, and 2 Q Awards. They've released 5 studio albums and a sold of 13 million copies worldwide. Mezzanine is their 3rd studio album, and it was released on the 20th of April, 1998 by Circa and Virgin Records. Before this album, the group began to explore darker aesthetics and focused on a more atmospheric style and influenced by British post-punk, industrial music, hip-hop, and dub music. Mezzanine topped the charts in the UK, Australia, Ireland, and New Zealand, becoming the group's most commercially successful album to date. They had 4 singles, the aforementioned Teardrop, which we're talking about, Rising Sun, Angel, and Inertia Creeps. Robert Del Naja, a member of the trip hop band Massive Attack, has been a graffiti artist during the 1980s prior to forming the band. It was previously identified as a personal friend of Banksy's. It's Robert Del Naja that they think was actually Banksy. But he stated several times, no, it ain't me. I know him. He runs around with us, but I'm not going to tell you who he is. What did you think about Teardrop by Massive Attack?
This made me think of Lord, who I really like.
Yes. Lord was heavily influenced by Massive Attack.
Okay, well that makes sense because that's where I went to. I could really get lost in this song. I like this one a lot. So you hit the mark with this one.
Nice. You should check out that whole Mezzanine album.
Yeah, I think I will. This one, you hit it. You hit it on this one.
Nice. I figured it'd be one of them. I did not figure it would be Massive Attack, but I figured it'd be one of them.
Yep.
Okay, the next one is The Summer by Yo La Tengo. Yo Yola Tango is Spanish for I Have It. They're an American indie rock band formed in Hoboken, New Jersey in 1984. Since 1992, the lineup has consisted of Ira Kaplan and Georgia Humley and James McNew. Georgia Humley, drums, piano, and vocals, and James McNew, bass and vocals, and Ira Kaplan on guitars, piano, and vocals. So they all sing at the same time. In 2015, original guitarist Dave Schramm rejoined the band and appears on their 14th album, Stuff Like That There. Despite achieving limited mainstream success, Yo La Tengo has been called the quintessential critics band and maintains a strong cult following. Though they mostly play original materials, the band performs a whole wide repertoire of cover songs, both in live performances and recorded. Fake Book is the fourth studio album by American indie rock band Yo La Tengo, released in 1990, record label Bar None. Bar None's the same record company that ran They Might Be Giants. So the name of this album is Fake Book, but they released it in 1990. I don't want to say that. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I think it's interesting that someone actually came up with that name, Fake Book, before the social media company. I find it interesting. Not that I think anything's happening. I mean, it's a cool name for an album. But The Summer was released as sort of I think it was actually a B-side, not necessarily meant to be released as a single, but it's one of those songs that are it's just chill. What did you think about The Summer by Yo La Tengo?
So my problem with it was the guitar was often off key. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. And it's not that way through the whole song, but it threw me off when it happened multiple times.
Yeah.
I didn't,
almost like he was on a dissonant chord.
yeah. And I didn't like that. So this one wasn't for me because that guitar going off key constantly threw me.
Bum, 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 bum. Okay. So Yo La Tengo's not hitting it.
No.
Okay. The last song in our list is Razor Blades of Love by the Silencers. The Silencers are a Scottish rock band formed in London in 1986. They're formed by Jimmy O'Neill, Cha Burns, two ex-members of the post-punk outfit Fingerprints. Their music is characterized by a melodic blend of pop, folk, and traditional Celtic influences. Often compared to Scottish bands with a similar sound like Big Country, Delamitri, which we've talked about before, and the Proclaimers. The Silencers have been distinguished in themselves with their electric sound, prolific output, and continued career. The first single, Painted Moon, was a minor hit, international hit, and it invited critics comparisons to Simple Minds and U2 early on in their career. In 1987, they released their first album, A Letter from St. Paul, which included Painted Moon and another minor hit, I See Red. Buoyed by the huge European hit Bulletproof Heart, the band's third album, Dance to a Holy Man, is the band's commercial peak to date. Throughout the 1990s, the Silencers saw a popular taste shift away from their songwriting-based style of music towards grunge and electronic music. Razor Blades of Love was released on A Blues for Buddha in 1988. I believe it was their third album. I think that's right. Yeah. And it was number 23 on U.S. Modern Rock Hit. So it went up to the number 23 on what we now call the indie charts. What did you think about Razor Blades of Love?
I didn't think this song fit into the playlist. I didn't think it was chill enough. This song was really busy.
Yes, it is very busy, but it's Celtic.
Yeah,
their stuff's pretty busy.
It was just kind of out of place here. The song itself was okay. I liked the song enough, but I felt I just felt it was too busy to be in this particular playlist.
Okay. But you did like the song overall?
Yes.
Okay. Good. So, out of the 10 songs we've got, how many hit the mark?
Well, one hit the mark for sure.
Yes. Okay, so we got one. All right.
Let's see here.
That was Teardrop by Massive Attack.
Yep.
Okay.
Allison was good.
Okay.
The Ocean Blue, Ballerina Out of Control. That one was really good. I like that.
Okay.
So, What about 4 out of this list? I guess it is.
Okay, all right, cool. That was that was a that was actually better than I expected. I figured I'd hit on one.
No, you definitely hit on one with Massive Attack. I like that one a whole lot.
Well, I mean, Still Corners is so unique. It's kind of hard to find stuff like them, but
Right.
I'll keep digging. But I'm glad I was able to find a few that you did like.
Yes.
Yes. Excellent. 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 And again, our dear listeners, you can go out and hit this list. I think it's already up as of right now, just because I wanted everybody to kind of take a look at it. So I'll just leave it up. So go to our YouTube playlist. It'll be EP 85, and you can just play on and listen to it for yourself. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on that YouTube playlist. Definitely ought to check it out.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm going to be doing one for every episode from here on out. So.
Outstanding stuff. Outstanding. Well, I appreciate that. With that, we'll step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off the New York Daily News, Texas Monthly, and Wikipedia, and this is the story of Charles Albright. Have you ever heard of this one?
Charles Albright?
Uh-huh.
The name is familiar.
He is known as the eyeball killer.
No, I've never heard of the eyeball killer.
Well, many serial killers develop a calling card, like a brand. You've got the Night Stalker Richard Ramirez with his bloody pentagram, or the alleged smiley face killer's graffiti symbol, which I'll probably cover the smiley face killers at some point. Richard Ramirez I've got on my list to do as well. That's a long one. And I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Yes. Hey, maybe we could save that for an exclusive.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Well, Charles Albright left his own signature on the sex workers he killed in Dallas, Texas. He removed their eyeballs with chillingly surgical precision.
Ooh. This is in Dallas?
This was in Dallas, Texas.
Wow. Okay.
Dallas pathologist Elizabeth Peacock was examining the body of Mary Pratt, who was 33, who was a prostitute who had been shot in the head the night before on December 12th, 1990. She was not prepared for what she found when she opened the eyelids. Pratt's eyeballs were gone, removed with such precision that it appeared when the lids were shut that they were still in the victim's head.
What? Okay.
It was the first time she'd ever seen anything like it, but it would not be the last. This form of mutilation would become the signature of a monster, and the press dubbed him the Eyeball Killer.
Okay.
So Charles Frederick Albright was born in Amarillo, Texas in 1933 and was adopted when he was just weeks old by Fred and Dell Albright. The couple lived in a middle-class suburb. Fred was a grocer and Dell was a school teacher. According to an in-depth Texas Monthly feature, Dell was both a strict and smothering mother who sometimes dressed her son in girls' clothing, tied him to his bed as punishment when he wouldn't take a nap, and insisted on chauffeuring him when he began dating in school. So an overbearing, overprotective mother, signs we've seen before.
Yes.
Here's another one. When Charles was 11 years old, his mother enrolled him in a taxidermy course after she caught him killing small animals.
That's 2 on the McDonald triad.
And I don't think we come into the 3rd on that. I'm almost positive we don't. He did practice the craft of dissecting, skinning, and stuffing on dead birds, but according to Texas Monthly, rather than spring for expensive fake eyes, his mother insisted he use buttons. So as Charles set to work on the dead birds he found, Dell was right beside him. She showed him how to use all the tools, the knife used to cut the skull, the little spoon to scoop out the brains, the scalpel required to cut away the eyes from their sockets, and the forceps that pulled out the eyes. She even skinned the first bird for him, teaching him not to cut too deep. Dutifully, Charles spent hours on his taxidermy courses, stuffing and mounting his birds, making them look as lifelike as possible, and then he would be ready for his crowning touch, the eyes. He used to go to a taxidermy shop and stare at the boxes and boxes full of gloriously fake eyes, owl eyes, eagle eyes, deer eyes, and he loved their iridescent gleam, and he wished he could collect them the way the other boys collected marbles.
Right on. Okay.
Even though Albright performed well in school, he began his foray into the criminal world as a teenager. At age 13, he was already a petty thief and was arrested for aggravated assault. At age 15, he graduated from high school and enrolled at North Texas University.
He graduated at 15?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
There, he expressed an interest in training as a medical doctor and a surgeon, and he took pre-med training, but he failed to complete it. At age 16, the police caught him with some stolen petty cash along with 2 handguns and a rifle, and he would spend a year in jail. Around age 17, he had spent months in prison for theft and receiving stolen goods, according to a timeline by Radford University. And after his release from jail, he attended Arkansas State Teachers College and majored in pre-med studies. Texas Monthly writer Skip Hollingsworth wrote of a troubling prank Albright pulled in college. He cut out the eyes of their ex-girlfriends from photographs and pasted them around campus.
Huh.
After being found with the stolen items, he was expelled from the college but was not prosecuted. Apparently unfazed, he falsified a degree. He stole documents and forged signatures, giving himself a fictitious bachelor's and master's degrees. He married his college girlfriend and they had a daughter. He continued to forge checks, and he was caught in this deception while he was teaching at a high school and was placed on probation. And in 1965, he and his wife separated, divorcing in 1974. That was a long time from separation to divorce.
Yeah.
He was then caught stealing hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise from a hardware store and received a 2-year prison sentence. He served less than 6 months before being released. During this time, he began to befriend and gain the trust of his neighbors, and he was even asked by local residents to babysit their children. However, in 1981, while visiting some friends, he sexually molested their 14-year-old daughter. He was prosecuted, pled guilty, and received probation, and he later claimed he was innocent but pled guilty to avoid a hassle. In 1984, he applied to be a leader in the Boy Scouts of America and was rejected. And then in 1985, in Arkansas, Albright met a woman named Dixie. He invited her to live with him, and soon she was paying his bills and supporting him. He delivered newspapers in the early morning, apparently to visit prostitutes without arousing Dixie's suspicion. Throughout his adult life, Charles Albright would alternate between the straight life and the life of crime. He married and had a daughter, creating the image of an everyday suburban dad, but also racked up arrests for thefts and forging documents and checks. In 1985, he pleaded guilty to sexually molesting the preteen daughter of a family he had met through his church, for which he only received probation again.
Yeah.
Soon those crimes would add up to a much more sinister picture. The first victim turned up in an undeveloped, almost forgotten lower-class area of far south Dallas. She was a large woman, 156 pounds, naked except for a T-shirt and a bra, which had been pushed up over her breasts. Her eyes were shut and her face and chest were badly bruised. And apparently the killer had thought it best to beat her before firing a .44 caliber bullet into her brain. A resident of the neighborhood found her and was so horrified by what he saw that he rushed inside his house and brought out a flowered bedsheet to cover the body. And a police officer on the scene immediately recognized the woman as Mary Pratt, 33, who we talked about earlier, who was a veteran prostitute who worked at the Star Motel in Oak Cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Then while performing her autopsies, as we had said before, the medical examiner discovered her eyes had been carefully removed as if a surgeon or someone with medical training had done it.
Kids, for all our listeners out there, if you're not from the DFW area, Oak Cliff is well known as kind of a rough area.
Right.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Well,
continue.
No, that's fine. And he had to be really good at doing it because eyes are very delicate.
Yes.
In order to remove them, you would almost think that someone had to have medical training.
Uh-huh. Well, or in this case, taxidermy training.
Right. Well, which he had both.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because he went to pre-med as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, quickly, detectives contacted the FBI's Violent Crimes Apprehension Program unit, and through its computers, the FBI keeps data on the nation's most unusual depraved mutilations, bodies chopped up, organs removed, even eyes punctured with a knife as a result of a frenzy attack. But an FBI agent told detectives he found no listing anywhere of such a surgically precise cutting. There's also evidence that Albright was a friend of Mary Pratt's long before she became a prostitute. In the early 80s, Mary lived in a South Dallas neighborhood where Albright's parents had long ago invested in cheap rental property. At the time, Albright was temporarily living in one of the rental houses. According to several sources, Albright had a brief fling with one of Pratt's female friends and brought that woman and Pratt over to his house for parties. Almost 2 months later to the day, on the morning of February 10th, 1991, the body of 27-year-old sex worker Susan Beth Peterson was discovered on the same road as Pratt. Like the previous victim, she was found nearly nude and died with a shot to the head, and her eyes had been meticulously removed, which, of course, was now establishing a pattern.
Mm-hmm. Or the eyes removed post-mortem?
I don't know. They didn't say throughout this, so I don't know, but God, one would hope so.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, God, I hope he removed the eyes after he killed them. Not that I hope that he removed their eyes at all, but
right.
I'm just hoping that didn't happen while they were still alive, because that would be very painful.
I'm with you. Yeah, and that's creepy too. So, Ugh. At this point, a contingent of detectives favored keeping a lid on the story. If the press discovered that the killings were linked and turned the spotlight on the Star Motel, the killer might get nervous and start picking up women from other areas. So they were trying to keep a lid on this.
Yeah. Makes sense. Can't fault the DPD for that.
Well, but homicide supervisors decided that the police department had a greater obligation to warn the community that it might be in danger, even if it meant warning low-dollar hookers. Besides, publicizing the case might bring in some leads.
Mm-hmm.
While the police never released details of the murders, news spread about the killer, who was dubbed the Dallas Ripper and the Dallas Slasher by the press.
Can't believe I've never heard of this. And this was going on in 1990? Yeah,
I know.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I was a little shocked that you hadn't heard about this before. I knew about this one. The killer's third victim was found on March 19th, 1991. Her naked body was propped up against a tree on a residential street across from a grade school.
Oh.
She was found at 6:20 in the morning, dumped on the residential street half a block from the elementary school in the heart of Oak Cliff. And as children walked to school, they could see the naked woman crumpled against the curb, and there was an unopened condom beside the body. Her name was Shirley Williams. She was 45 years old, and she had been shot in the head. The broken blade of an X-Acto knife was found embedded in the skin around her right eye, which was a sloppier removal than before, but there were still no witnesses, no murder weapon, and no fingerprints. Worse, the killer had now murdered a black woman, and he had moved locations. Just as detectives had feared, the publicity around the case had sent the killer away from the Star and his South Dallas dumping ground, so there was no telling where he would hit again.
Yeah. Still in Oak Cliff, but...
Yep. Well, police began interviewing sex workers in downtown Dallas about any suspicious incidents or violent customers they may have encountered in the months around the murders. Brenda Smith told police she had recently escaped a violent John after spraying with mace, according to the New York Daily News. News of the mutilation murder spread, sparking a wildfire of tips from people sure they knew who had committed these crimes. Among these was Veronica Rodriguez, who was 26. She said she not only knew the killer's identity, but she had witnessed Pratt's murder. Rodriguez, who was a prostitute, was well known to police. Drugs had fried her brain, and she had lied and was incoherent much of the time, wrote John Matthews, who was a detective on the case, in The Eyeball Killer, which was a book co-authored with Christine Wicker. Rodriguez was so flaky that no one believed her horror story of how she and Pratt had gone off with a stranger for a threesome in a South Dallas field. Rodriguez recalled that the man became violent and hit her in the head with a gun, briefly knocking her out. And she said she came to just in time to see the man shoot Pratt, and she bolted to the closest house where the occupant, a truck driver named Axton Schindler, let her in. Police started probing Schindler's background on the chance that in her drug-addled state, Rodriguez had scrambled some details and mistook the attacker for her savior, but they found nothing except for one possible clue. The house where Schindler was living belonged to another man, Charles Albright, who was a former high school science teacher and owned a few pieces of property around Dallas. Two of those were near the dumping grounds for the dead prostitutes. A deputy recalled hearing Albright's name on a tip line from someone who said her friend, victim Mary Pratt, had briefly dated a man who was obsessed with eyes and had a large collection of X-Acto knives. Both women later identified their attacker as Charles Albright, though Rodriguez later refused to testify against him. On March 22nd, 1991, police arrested Albright. He was making his living as a carpenter and lived with his girlfriend, but was also a known customer to many sex workers in the Dallas area. During a search of his home, police found a stash of X-Acto knives, a copy of Grey's Anatomy, and at least a dozen books on true crime and serial killers, according to Texas Monthly. Hair fibers found in his truck also connected him to all three murders. However, the murder weapons and the missing eyeballs were never located. Albright's trial began in late November 1991, though it relied mostly on circumstantial evidence because, again, they didn't have a murder weapon.
Yep, no murder weapon.
For a long time after Charles Albright's arrest, almost everyone involved in this case wondered whether the police had enough evidence to convict him of murder. And despite withering an all-night interrogation by detectives, Albright refused to confess to anything. He acted as if he had never heard the name of the murdered prostitutes. Police searched every square inch of his South Dallas properties.
Which is BS, because we know for a fact he knew one of them.
Reports were that he knew one of them, yes. Okay. Yes. Right. They even searched his Oak Cliff house 6 times, and the FBI brought in a high-tech machine that could see through walls, but police couldn't find anyone who would admit to seeing Charles with the 3 prostitutes on the nights they were killed. Prosecutors were ultimately forced to dismiss the charges against Albright for the Pratt and Peterson murders. However, he was found guilty of the murder of Shirley Williams and was sentenced to life in prison. Albright's friends avoided the reporters in the courthouse hallway. It was as if they did not want to be blamed for having lived with a vicious killer without recognizing him for what he was. Mm-hmm. But a stunned Brad Lawler, who genuinely thought he was going to get his client acquitted, strode tight-lipped out of the courtroom, and he said it's always a miscarriage of justice when an innocent man is convicted. Albright died in 2020 at the age of 87 at the West Texas Regional Medical Facility in Lubbock, Texas, still proclaiming his innocence to that day.
Wow.
And that is the story of Charles Albright, the eyeball killer.
The eyeball killer. So after he got caught and sentenced, the killing stopped?
The killing stopped.
Well, I think they may have gotten the right guy.
I would think so as well. I think his proclaimed innocence is pretty false.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they had their man at that point.
Right on.
So that takes us to the end of another recording week of Nerdery and Murdery. We appreciate everybody for taking the time to listen to us. We appreciate each and every one of our listeners. As always, you can find our information on nerderyandmurdery.com, where you can find more information about the show itself, as well as pictures, links to the information that we talk about.
We also have a YouTube channel, Nerdery and Murdery. It's got all of the playlists for all of our episodes. You can see videos and other things, plus goofy videos that we like and, things we think are funny.
Absolutely. You can also find the link to our merch page, where if you wish to show off your Nerdery and Murdery fandom, you can certainly peruse the items that we have for sale there. And you can find the link to our Patreon, where if you wish to help continue keeping this show going, there are costs that are involved with broadcasting and putting our shows out there. So please do consider being a patron. We appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. And last but not least, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for our kind of, content.
Yes.
So with that,
I have been Zig with your Nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdering.
Cue the music.